Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC on the day that Bayern Munich once again were crowned champions of the Bundesliga. A 1-0 victory against Werder Bremen, enough to seal the deal. We're here to discuss it. John Hutchison, Gab Marcotti and Stevie Nicol. Stevie, I want to start with you as a man who's won, 5 league titles with Liverpool. What struck me today was how happy Bayern were, as if almost it's the first time. They were genuinely celebrating with gusto, which I wasn't quite expecting.
Yeah, I've got to say, I was a little surprised myself, but at the end of the day, listen, when you've been locked up in the house for, 3 months, and you've got a title just dangling in front of you like a carrot, then I guess they've got every reason to be pleased. You know, coming back from the break, the question was, can they pick up where they left off? And the truth is, they absolutely have sailed through since the restart of the Bundesliga. So, yeah, I think if you consider what they've been through over that 3-month period where they really didn't do anything, stuck in the house, and so they have every right to smile. And listen, 8 in a row, not to be sniffed at.
Not to be sniffed at all, Don. Of course, this was in doubt earlier in the season. What a difference the change of manager makes.
It's been incredible. Niko Kovac promised he was going to play attacking football with wingers. It never quite happened. The players never really seemed settled under his regime. He fell out with 1 or 2 of the older players. I think Boateng and Thomas Muller come to mind. They look as though they were completely gone at the start of the season. Well, they've been sensational since the restart and since Hansi Flick took over. But they were just too strong again, Bayern. I'm not even sure Florian Kohfeldt felt as though his side could win tonight. They had a good go when Bayern went down to 10 men, but I think the changes that he made were probably leaning towards the Mainz game next week, which is a huge game for them. But Bayern Munich, 8 in a row, 29 in total. They just keep marching on.
Is that a problem, though, Gab, for the German league?
What, that Bayern have won more Bundesliga titles than every other German team combined?
Wow.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty staggering. I mean, I think what was staggering, what was remarkable this time around is also the adversity Bayern overcame. I mean, as the boys mentioned, obviously they had a change of manager in mid-season for the second time in 3 years. You don't normally win the title when that happens. Their highest paid, their most expensive player was out for most of the season in Lucas Hernandez. Arguably, their best or second best center back in Niklas Süle was out for virtually the whole season. Corentin Tolisso, who was the most expensive player before Lucas Hernandez came in, was out most of the season. Their goalkeeper was in a contractual dispute for a big chunk of the year. Their highest paid player, Philippe Coutinho, their big star signing, ended up fizzling out and contributing almost nothing. And they had the pandemic, and they win the season by going in this incredible run of wins. And they do it against a very strong Leipzig team who showed it in the Champions League. They showed it they win it against a Borussia Dortmund team that spent very heavily in the summer, and then again in January, of course, adding Erling Haaland. That part, I think, is a remarkable part. The fact that they overcame so much to win it. More broadly, longer term, yeah, it's not an ideal situation when one team is so far ahead.
Gab saying that pretty much this eclipses Leicester City's achievement a few years ago, Stevie, I think. Is that what you're hearing as well?
Sounds like it. Poor old Bayern. Oh my goodness, woe is me. And the fact is that all those players that you've named, Gab, and all the so-called problems, which were, they've still got 11 players that would get in any other team in Germany. So yes, they've had injuries, but let's be honest. Whilst Bayern Munich have so much more money than anybody else, and the way it's run is to win, it's not to sell players, it's to buy good players, whereas every other team, particularly the team that usually challenges them, or certainly have recently in Dortmund, is all about selling the best players. So, I mean, yes, you've got to congratulate them, 8 in a row, but you know what? They should be winning.
I'm not going to dispute that Stevie, but equally, it does show that what a strong club it is to be able to steady the ship in those situations. Do they have a massive advantage because they've got the highest wage bill by far and they take the best players to the competition seemingly year on year? Sure, of course. Might it be different if Jurgen Klopp had stuck around and worked his magic and whatever? Maybe. But, the reality is they have the edge, and they've taken advantage of that edge despite facing, I think, a lot of adversity this year that in other years perhaps they haven't faced.
Lewandowski on the score sheet, scoring the winning goal once again. Don, a lot of talk about him winning the Ballon d'Or.
Well, he's certainly, in my opinion, the best number 9 in world football. I think you can add some names to the conversation. I think Immobile comes into that conversation, Harry Kane, even Firmino and Suarez. But for a guy that's been doing it, year in, year out, he's durable. He doesn't pick up too many injuries, big injuries, not long-termers. He still churns out between 25 and 35 goals every single season. He's physically strong. He looks in prime condition. And he looks hungry for goals, and he knows where the goal is. He's not even a selfish number 9. And don't forget as well, he plays up front on his own. He's not
completely ignored
not
my
like Latino
question.
Martinez or Lukaku playing in a pair where it's a little bit easier.
I know he scores goals. Does he deserve the Ballon d'Or?
Probably not. No, I think there's other contenders and bigger contenders out there. But still, if you just analyse what he's doing every single season, you can guarantee his number of goals, which guarantees titles.
Stevie, Bayern Munich go and win the Champions League in August. Should he get it?
Well, you never threw that one in the mix, did you?
No brainer. No brainer.
No brainer.
He's taking him to the title. He's breaking every record going. If he takes them to the Champions League, then absolutely 100% he deserves it. If indeed he scores the goals that wins him the title.
Well, what if he doesn't score any goals, but they still win the title?
Well, it matters because you're supposed to do it on the field. So if he doesn't do it on the field, then he shouldn't get it, right?
Well, they still win with him on the field. He just didn't score many goals. Maybe he sets them up.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's you and I have a bet and say if Bayern Munich win the Champions League, guess who's going to be scoring the goals?
Is he getting the Ballon d'Or or what? I'm confused. This conversation's gone.
Yes, he's...
No, basically I'm saying, if he fires Bayern Munich to a Champions League one and he's scoring the goals, which is, if they do win it, it's pretty much guaranteed he's the one that's going to be hitting the back of the net, then yes,
correct.
He gets it.
Gav?
Is that okay, Dan?
Look, if you're talking about the Ballon d'Or specifically, this is a popularity contest, and it's normally won by people who play really well, who do well throughout the year, but also play really well in games that everybody watches on television, like the Champions League final. So yes, if Bayern win the Champions League and he plays well in those games, and maybe Barcelona don't win the title and Lionel Messi gets injured or Barca go out early, but you have to realize, and I think it's hilarious that people get so bent out of shape about it, half the Ballon d'Or voters are essentially Muppets who can only spell Messi or Ronaldo and nothing else. And, the chances of somebody else winning it in a non-World Cup year, the only way it's going to happen, I think, is if they go and they win the Champions League and do something special in the big games, in the semis and the final.
Quickly, Alphonso Davies, Don, right to get sent off today?
No, not for me. I thought it was a little bit harsh. It looked like once he went in to try and read the sort of 1-2, he stumbled back. I thought it was a little bit harsh. If I'm getting sent off and a second yellow, I'd want to be sent off for something proper. I thought the referee panicked slightly. A little word and a little bit more leniency, I would have thought would be the best way to go. So not in my opinion.
Claudio Pizarro coming on at 41, Stevie. Would you have done that?
41 stone. I'm sorry. He was twice as big as anybody else on that field. I'm sorry, I'm not a fan.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.